I know it's been a while since you've heard from me. I've just been busy. Life happens. But let's talk about what to do in Marrakech. Essentially, as everybody knows, Marrakech is like a hot destination right now. Cheap flights from Europe, and it's on the same time zone as Europe, and affordable prices for Europeans mean that Marrakech is absolutely packed. It is heaving with people. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you exactly what to do in Marrakech. I'm also going to give you secret local tips to help you avoid the crowds in Marrakech, because the last thing anybody wants to do is to wait 3 hours to get into a famous cafe. And yes, Basha Coffee, I am absolutely talking about you. Been there, done that, don't want to do it again. Okay, so the first thing that you absolutely need to do in Marrakech is go to Bahia Palace. Believe it or not, the word Bahia actually means brilliant in Arabic, and basically the majority of this palace is actually closed to the public, but don't worry, there's still a ton of stuff to see. I think like a fraction of the 150 rooms of this palace are actually open to the public, but the tile work is amazing, the plaster work is amazing, the woodwork is amazing. It's just a beautiful space to walk around and enjoy. It's super popular. It's probably one of the main attractions in the city, but absolutely 100% worth it. I would definitely visit if you can early in the morning to try and beat the crowds, but like don't expect to have the place all to yourself. Personal favorites of mine are the Petit Riad, the Grand Riad, and then I don't know how to say this because it's in French, but like it's the Cour d'Honneur. I don't know. I made that up. But it has like basically like 1,500 square feet of Carrara like marble, and it's really, really pretty. Plus the price is pretty affordable. So if you're looking for like one of those iconic attractions to add to your bucket list, 100% visit Bahia Palace. It's also well located in the center of the city, so you shouldn't, it's like right near the Medina, so you should be able to find it. The next one I'm going to talk about is kind of like, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about Jardin Majorelle. It's probably the most popular site in Marrakech. The last time I looked it up, there were about 900,000 people visiting every year, so that's close to 1 million people, and it's a tiny garden. Like when I say it'll take you maybe 20 minutes to walk through, like that's with stopping for photos. The problem that I have with Jardin Majorelle is that like with a lot of things, it's a victim of its own success. You can't freely walk around the complex anymore. Like there are people there to like guide you. Anytime you want to take a photo, you're gonna have to wait in line. The lines are like insane. You can't just show up and get tickets because it is sold out. So you have to get tickets online at least a couple of days in advance. And it's really pretty. Like I really like the, basically the garden was founded by Jacques Majorelle in 1924. And so basically he had an electric blue studio, and eventually what happened was the garden fell into disrepair. And then Yves Saint Laurent and his partner, Pierre Bergy, they basically bought it in 1980 and turned it into the garden that we know today. It was basically handed over to the government once they ceased owning it. But it's a really pretty space. I want to recommend it because I do enjoy it. Like I enjoyed this garden like 2023 when I went first thing in the morning and no one was there. But now I just find it to be way too crowded. Personally, if it were me, I would go to the Musée des Palmeries. It's a little bit outside the city center, but it's really, really beautiful. They have this elaborate cactus garden. We met this really cute cat that kept like going up to us and trying to like get food, so that was really cute. There's also a really nice like modern art exhibit. It's not obviously like Picasso, but it's really nice. It's featuring local artists, and they do a really good job of presenting those in the buildings. And then you also have this like Andalusian fusion Moroccan garden that you can visit. And when we went, no one was there. No one was there. We had the garden all to ourselves. We took a lot of photos. We took a lot of videos. It was a really fun experience. It's a great way to get outside of the city center. And I just really highly recommend it because I just think Jardin Majorelle has been like just inundated with tourists. And I just really don't think it's, for most people, I think it's going to kind of be a turnoff. My next like big name attraction that you absolutely have to go to is the Ben Youssef Madrasa. This one is really packed, so I would try to get there early, but the benefit is that it's just like this beautiful 14th century like study of the Quran and like Islam, and it's a beautiful like religious school with elaborate tile work and basically a lot of traditional Moroccan architecture. Plus the entrance fee is only about 50 dirhams the last time I was there, so I think it's exceptionally worth it. But just like I said, go early in the morning so that you can avoid the crowds. And it's a pretty impressive structure because it was actually one of the largest schools in North Africa at the time. It's no longer a school, but you can still see things in the school, like a quote that says, "May you exceed your greatest ambitions upon entering my doors." So, it's just a really neat place. There's not a ton of artifacts. Like what you're mainly going to do here is like walk through and appreciate the architecture and just really enjoy it. And just appreciate it for what it's worth. It probably won't take you more than like an hour, but it's definitely a must visit. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Okay, so the next place I'm going to recommend is a visit to the hammam. The hammam is basically like a Moroccan quote-unquote spa, where essentially what they do is they take a glove, it's called a kiss, and they basically just like exfoliate your skin, and they just rub the glove all over your skin and all the dead skin comes off. And then they do things like bathing with black soap so that your skin is nice and soft, and so that it gives you all the nutrients that you need. And it's just like an essential ritual. A lot of it is basically just skin exfoliation and sitting in a steam room. So basically like your pores open up and like it's easier to get the dead skin off. There are a couple of different places that you can go. I went to Le Bain Bleu, and that was a private hammam in Marrakech, and I definitely recommend them. It's good if you don't want it as like authentic experience and you basically want a private room and you don't want to have to share with other people. But the downside is that it's a bit more expensive and it's not quite as authentic as like, a public hammam. So if you want to go to a public hammam where you can get an authentic experience and really a better appreciation for Moroccan culture, I would highly recommend going to Hammam Moussaïn or Hammam Mila. I went to both of those. Hammam Mila was a bit cold, I'm not gonna lie. I hope that was just when I was there, but the steam room was definitely not very hot. And Hammam Moussaïn was also really, really nice. I felt warm enough. And what I like about both of those places is that it's a public hammam, so they'll walk you through the process and you'll see other people there. But you actually have like an assistant. And the assistant will basically walk you through and help you with the bathing process, because you don't have like, the glove, you don't have the soap, you don't know the process, you don't know how everything works. So it's a good, it's kind of like a fusion of like a private, but it's definitely still public. So you'll feel comfortable, but you also have a more authentic experience that you'll really enjoy. So after the hammam, one of my favorite things to do is to visit Jemaa El Fina. Like, you honestly can't visit the city without going to Jemaa El Fina. And basically it's the main center square in Marrakech. You literally can't miss it. Like, if you take the airport bus, it'll drop you off right there. That is literally the center of the city. And this area really comes alive, I would say, after sunset. So I would get here around like 5 p.m. or so. A lot of people like to go to the restaurants around the perimeter and watch the sunset. That's a fun thing to do. Just don't expect the food to be really, really good at any of these restaurants. Most of them are tourist traps. So I would just like grab a coffee, and I would also get there earlier because like everybody wants to see the sunset here. So this is not like a unique thing to do. So definitely get there early. And yeah, highlights include like just walking around. There are people selling street food, so if you want street food, there are people selling souvenirs. The quality is kind of questionable, so you might want to shop somewhere else, like in the souks. You can shop in some of the main souks, like inside the Medina, and they have better quality goods. And you can see snake charmers, you can see people holding monkeys. I don't recommend engaging in animal tourism because we don't know how they treat the animals, so I wouldn't do that. But, you can just kind of walk around, see belly dancers, see people playing traditional instruments, really just get a vibe and a feel for, old world Marrakech. And also you'll know you're in the right place because you'll see a giant mosque. It's called Koutoubia Mosque, and it's right across the street. And my next favorite thing to do is going to the Sidian tombs. These are a bit claustrophobic feeling, quite honestly. And basically what happened was the basically these didn't really get rediscovered. Essentially, I'm not going to say the names, but essentially it was built as kind of like a mausoleum for one of the old sultans in the city. And then what happened was his rival, basically to destroy his memory, like boarded it up, sealed it up. And so what happened was this particular tomb, it wasn't rediscovered until like 1917. So basically that's why it's like so claustrophobic feeling, because it was all kind of, everything was boarded up and there were like stones placed so that everybody would forget about this place. But the Sadian tombs are really, really cool because they just have a lot of like character and a lot of really traditional Moroccan architecture. So you can see plasterwork, you can see tile work, you can see woodwork. It's just a really good place to see all of those things. And I was really, really impressed by the quality of everything. And so I would definitely go here, especially if you're interested in like, you know, Moroccan history. It is quite small, like I said, so get here as early as you can, like try to get right in. It's another one of those popular attractions. So essentially like you and everybody else is going to want to be here. So don't expect to have the place all to yourself because it's definitely not a hidden gem. Yeah, so the next place that I'm going to recommend is, I don't know, it's like a double-edged sword. So I used to really love Basha coffee, and if you're not familiar, literally just go on Instagram and you can see how beautiful it is. It's really pretty. The coffee is really good. They have like literally a textbook of coffee. Like there are hundreds of coffees to choose from. We usually get the croissants when we're here and they're quite affordable. You get 2 in an order and it doesn't cost more than like, I forget how much it is. I think it's like 60 dirham or something. But, you know, it's a really nice place. The problem is that like Hardim Majorel, it's become a victim of its own success. So really it is, you have to get here. Like if you want a seat, you're going to have to get here. They open at 10 a.m. So you're going to have to line up probably around 9 a.m. outside. And even then, like the last time I was here, I went with a friend and we were there at 9:30 and we were not the first people in line and we still had to wait like an hour to get in even once we got in. So it was packed, and I just honestly, I used to recommend this all the time. I don't really recommend it as much anymore. Like I think it's a bit overrated, and I just think it's so crowded, and like the space is small, and like people sit there forever. And so personally, if it was me, like I would probably skip Basha coffee. I really like Cozy coffee instead. The decor is really, really pretty, and it's not, if you go to the second floor, it's empty. It's not as pretty as Bosch coffee, so don't expect it to be exactly the same thing, but the coffee is good, and you can have pretty much on the second floor the place all to yourself. If you go to the upper floor, it will be a bit more crowded, but you'll get nice views of Tinsmith Square. So I think that that's a really nice alternative to Basha coffee. However, if you want to visit the Dar Basha Museum, that museum is really lovely. There's like a central courtyard in the back that you can walk through, and it's like a Moroccan style garden. They also have minbars, they have a bunch of artifacts, and they also have the remnants of like an old hammam system in the museum. And they recently redid this museum, so a lot of the artifacts and a lot of the displays are new. So if you've been before, it's definitely worth coming back now because the museum is just really, really interesting. And you have to pay to get in anyway. Like you can't just go to the cafe. You have to actually pay to enter the cafe. So if you're paying anyway, like you might as well go to the museum, which is really nice. The next thing that you absolutely must do, especially if you're not into crowds, is go to the Mellah. Essentially, the Mellah is the Jewish quarter of the city, and what I like about this part of the city is it's not as touristy as some of the other parts of the city. You won't find as many tourists. There are some for sure, because the Mellah isn't like, you know, a super secret, but it's just more authentic, and you can see locals like walking around living their everyday life. You can also go to a synagogue. You can also go to the Jewish cemetery. I wasn't overly impressed with either one. They're not my favorites, but in fairness, like I've been to a bunch of different cemeteries and synagogues in my day, so I'm kind of like a bit over it probably. But if you've never been to like a synagogue, it's really interesting, and it's also interesting to like learn about, you know, the fact that like, you know, these two very different religions and people were able to live in the same area and live peacefully and coexist with one another. So yes, I 100% recommend going to the Mela, even if it's just for like a half day. And if you're there, you can also stop by Cafe Clock. Cafe Clock is over there. It's a really nice place to chill, grab some lunch. They have like a camel burger. You could definitely try eating camel. I usually go with the Berber omelet, but that's just me. Another place that you can that a lot of people recommend that I actually don't recommend is the museum, the Marrakech Museum. I will say this, like the Marrakech Museum, the benefit is that it is really pretty on the inside, okay? So like the architecture is really nice. It used to be in like an old palace, and now it's just like a kind of lame museum. I'm not gonna lie, like I don't recommend going inside, quite honestly. I think it's a bit overpriced. I think yeah, I just didn't like the displays, and like they just felt very haphazard, and like some of the art was like, it felt like they didn't have anything to put on the walls, so they just like threw art on there. So what I would recommend is if you want to go to a museum that's a little more worthwhile, try the photography museum. It's really, really cool. There were these two private collectors, and they kind of came together and they bought this old riad in the Medina, and then they started showcasing all of these photographs with like the real negatives from, you know, back in the day in Morocco. So it's really interesting because you can see all these really cool photographs. You can explore an old riad, and then they have a nice cafe on top of the museum, and then you can enjoy like a tea, and you can look at beautiful views of the city. If you're really into photography and like history, you could also actually get you can get like a poster or like a picture made with one of the negatives from like that's actually from the collection. So that's kind of something cool and like a real cool souvenir too. Now, I haven't really talked a ton about places to eat. So what I'm going to say is another thing you do is you have to try Moroccan food. So tagine, couscous, you know, missamin, harsha, you name it. Like that's just the tip of the iceberg. The look, you know, whatever it is. But one of the places that everybody used to recommend to you is Nomad. And Nomad is alright. It's definitely not local. Like, it's definitely designed for bougie foreigners. The prices are a bit high. Like, the menu is definitely a modern fusion. So it's definitely designed to be more familiar with foreigners and, like, to cater more towards foreigner needs. When it comes to food, I came here, I ordered the vegetarian couscous. And it was alright. Like, it didn't blow my mind. It wasn't horrible either. Like, the service was fine. Like, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't amazing either. If you want to go somewhere that actually has like really good food, and that has a rooftop, because that's the big thing there, like they have a rooftop, you can go to Cafe des Espices. It's run by the same company, but I just found like the food in Cafe des Espices to be much more authentic, much more delicious, and much more well priced. And they also have a rooftop as well. But what I will say is that if you want to go to any of these rooftops, like you absolutely need to book in advance. Like these places are super, super popular. And so if you go ahead of time, like if you don't book ahead of time, you're not gonna get it. So definitely book ahead. My next favorite thing to do is to stay in a riad. So a riad is basically like a traditional Moroccan style house. And essentially the idea here is that the house and all the rooms in the house surround a central courtyard. Sometimes the central courtyard has a garden. Sometimes the central courtyard has a pool. Usually the pools are really small in Marrakech because the houses aren't that big. So it really just depends on like the riad. Sometimes they have like tiles, so you know, you name it, the center can have whatever it wants. I personally love staying in riads. What I will say is that if you have a mobility issue or someone in your party has a mobility issue, just be very, very careful, because a lot of the riads in Marrakech, they don't actually have an elevator. They're very old homes and the stairs can be quite steep. So just keep that in mind when you're booking. A lot of the riads in the Medina too, also they're only accessible by walking. Like the cars can't get there because the roads are super narrow inside the Medina. So just keep that in mind as well, especially if anyone you're traveling with has accessibility issues and potentially walking issues. Personally, I really like, when I'm here, I usually stay at Central House. It's a more modern riad, but I really like the rooftop. The rooftop has like insane views of the Medina. It's really, 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 really nice. And I just really enjoy it there. I also find the staff to be really lovely. The location is really good and the decor is really nice. I also like that in Central House, like they have hostel rooms. So if you're on a budget, you can definitely stay there. But if you're looking for something like a bit fancier, you can definitely book like a private room or whatever you want. So you have options regardless of your budget. So if you are looking for a more high-end Riyadh and are looking for something that's a bit more traditional and perhaps not as modern, a couple of places that I recommend are Riyadh Anya and Spa. That one's a really nice, like higher end Riyadh. The decor is really nice, but it also won't like break the bank. Like you can still afford to stay there. Another one that I recommend is Riyadh B Marrakech. This one is really popular. The decor is really, really nice. So you have to book very, very well in advance, because the other thing you need to remember about Riyadhs is that they're quite small. There's not a ton of rooms in there. So you really need to book very, very far in advance, especially some of the more popular Riyadhs. And one of my other favorites is Riyadh Shambhala. That one is also more affordable and the decor is really nice. So if you stay at any one of those, like you're definitely going to get a more authentic experience, and like it's just more, it's nicer, and like you get a feel for like real Moroccan hospitality and culture and all that good stuff. So yes, I hope you enjoyed my video. It's finally over. There's a lot more things to do in Marrakech, and comment below if you need more tips or tricks. This is just kind of like a starting point for your trip. Hopefully it helps you get away from some of the insane crowds. Like with the top attractions, everybody goes there, you can't help it. But I hope you have an idea of what to do in Marrakech and you're excited for your trip. I'm excited for your trip. Please, if you enjoyed my video, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, support me. I am a content creator. I love talking about Morocco, love doing my research, and I hope you have a wonderful trip. Thanks so much for watching. Bye! I love you!